Hey everyone, welcome back to our Embrace Winter series. I'm so excited to be sharing more with all about how to work through those new skills that we talked about in our first episode. If you did not watch the introduction episode, make sure you go back and do that. I share a little bit about where my heart is in all this and why I wanted to share this subject with you over the next couple of months. So one of the things that I challenged you with in that first episode as part of this embracing winter and learning to work through this season as a positive time was to learn new skills. And I realized for some of you those skills could be a lot of different things. But for me personally, some of the skills that I picked to try to work on through this winter time had to do with things in my kitchen. So first of all, I want to remind you, if you did not go through and pick one or two of those skills, make sure you take the time to do that. And if you're still searching for what those things are, then maybe it can be some of these things we're going to talk about over these next 3 episodes in the kitchen. So again, for me, I have found that this is a time of year that I am indoors more and I can really dive into more in the kitchen. And so over these episodes, we're going to be talking about 3 different areas in the kitchen, some really fun homemaking, homesteading skills that if you have not gotten to practice yet or not gotten to learn, these will be some fun things hopefully for you to try. So today we are going to be sharing with you all about an easy recipe that our family loves. This is a very simple dough recipe. I will put the link in the comments so that you can see the specific recipe. It is one from the Prairie Homestead and I have been using it for about 1.5 years now, and it is just my go-to basic dough recipe for French bread, sandwich bread, pizza dough, cinnamon rolls, all of those things. So I am going to be showing you how to make this recipe and how easy it is. If you have not tried this yet, I hope you will, because it really is a simple thing. So for me personally, one of my goals this year had to do with bread, but it was not this type of bread. And I'm gonna hopefully be able to share more about that with you and maybe even do a demo in a coming episode. But I am working on the beautiful artisan bread and trying to just learn how to do it. It's been really, really fun to bake it and do it in the Dutch oven. So I will be sharing more about that with you. But this recipe is so easy and I hope it's something that you will try. So let's jump in with exactly how to do this recipe. I'm going to walk you through the easy ingredients and how to incorporate them into making this simple, easy, beautiful dough that you can turn into a lot of really fun things for your family. So the first thing we're going to do is take 1 1/3 cup of warm water and add it to our mixing bowl. The next thing that we're going to put in is our 2 teaspoons of yeast. I already have this measured out. You're gonna want to put this into your water and just let it sit for a couple minutes. This will activate your yeast. I'm just gonna lightly mix it into my water and let it sit now for about 2 to 3 minutes. So now that my yeast has sat in my water and began to activate, I'm just going to slightly mix this around in my bowl. I am using my bread hook, which I love for mixing up bread. It just makes it so much easier. So now that the yeast is incorporated, I'm ready to add my other ingredients. So this recipe calls for 1 egg. This is a nice farm fresh egg. I'm going to just turn that in there, slightly mix it into my mixture. The next thing I am going to do is add my sweetener. I use honey or sugar. Today I'm using 2 teaspoons of a raw sugar. And again, just slightly incorporate that into your mixture. The last thing I'm going to do is my salt, and I'm just going to do a pinch up to about a teaspoon of natural salt into my mixture. And then whisk all this around until it's incorporated and your egg is all nice and mixed in. So next we are ready to add our dry ingredients, which is our all-purpose flour, and I am going to do 3 to 3.5 cups of flour. So I like to add this 1 cup at a time and then use my dough hook. You can also just use a mixing spoon to begin to incorporate your flour into your liquid ingredients. So there's 1 cup I'm gonna go ahead and get my second cup of flour and add this in, and you will start to see it begin to get thicker and your dough will begin to form as you start to mix. So things are thickening up now. We have a wet, sticky dough that is starting to form, and that is with 2 cups of flour. So here's where I will add my third cup of flour and then see where we're at. So as you begin to mix in this third cup of flour, this is where you will really see that dough starting to form. So you don't want your dough to be too dry, but you don't want it to be too wet either. So I just kind of work it around. My dough is still fairly wet, you will see, as I've incorporated that third cup of flour. So I'm gonna just do about another 1/4 cup of flour. It's easier to add your flour slowly and then add more if needed. All right, so it is now forming a ball that is perfect, exactly the way I want it to take it and put it on my countertop. All right, so now that we have our dough formed, this is the fun part, guys. So what you're gonna wanna do is just put a little bit of flour on your countertop or your working surface, and then you're just gonna dump your dough out onto your countertop. So you can see my dough is nice and formed into a ball, little bit of wetness, but not too dry. So I am gonna just start to take my dough and knead it. So if my hands need a little bit more flour, I will add that in. And to knead my dough, I like to just keep turning it over on itself. There's no specific way to how you have to do this, but this is an important step because this is going to help your yeast to activate, the gluten in your bread to activate, and this is what's gonna make your loaf so nice. So if it starts to get sticky on your hands or on the countertop, just add a little bit more flour. So you see I kind of pull it over itself and then push it onto the countertop. Pull it over itself and push it onto the countertop. So I'm gonna knead this for about 2 minutes. Just work that into beautiful dough. Add flour as needed. So that is starting to look just perfect. That is how you want your dough to look. So now that we have finished kneading our dough, you're gonna put your ball of dough back in your bowl and just cover it with a tea towel or a breathable piece of fabric, and we're gonna let this sit for 30 minutes to an hour and double in size before we form it into our loaf. So we are gonna get ready to form it into our loaf pan now. So as we prepare our bread to put in our loaf pan, I just like to sit it down and kind of make it into a long loaf shape. I kind of roll it over on itself if you need to get it shaped properly so it looks about like this. This is a perfect shape, and then I am just going to put it into my loaf pan. So here's what my dough looks like. I am now going to let it sit in my pan for about the next hour and rise till it doubles in size. So our bread just came out of the oven, and we are just going to lightly cover the top with some butter. This makes it so delicious, and this will keep your crust nice and soft on your bread. Look at how yummy that is. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode, and I hope that you will try out some of this homemade bread. I just sliced into this, and this is gonna make beautiful sandwiches, great toast. Your family will love it. You can also follow the recipe in the description below and turn this bread into all kinds of things like an easy French loaf or your next pizza. So make sure you let me know if you have any questions, and please use our Embrace Winter 2021 hashtag over on Instagram and share your pictures if you try this bread or any other new recipes or skills you are working on this winter. I hope this series is something that you are learning from, and I hope it is inspiring you to try new things. We're gonna go dig into this yummy bread.